Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a while. It has been a very long while since, by the time I'd have uploaded this video, I think I'd have had 2 videos out, but still it's been a while. It's been a while since I've sat down and recorded anything for this channel. So hi, I'm back. I come back.
Hello, I come back.
Yeah, so this video is a part 2 of my travel vlog. Some shit went down and I didn't have the emotional capacity to then record the second leg of my journey because a lot of things went down. So this is me doing it as sort of a story time, basically, as a story time of the worst flight I have ever been on, ever. But anywho, if this is your first time seeing any one of my videos, I forgot to introduce myself. If this is your first time seeing any one of my videos, hi, my name is Nandi and I am the creative behind Bujos and Tapes. So yeah, as I say, today's video is a story time from what happened after I recorded, I think on the 28th of August. Yeah, so this is from like the 29th until I got home on the 2nd. I left 29th, I got home on the 2nd. Yeah, so I think on the 28th I left off when I just come back from the testing center where I had to get a new COVID test done. So I managed to get that done. I got the results midnight. It was very efficient, very fast. I got the results midnight and then I managed to print them out by the reception of the hotel in the morning before I left. So, you know, 29th in the morning, I've packed everything is ready. I go downstairs, I get into the car, I get to the airport, stand in the line again, check in, because I don't understand why there are that many people at the airport. Like, where are people going? Why are you traveling in a pandemic? Especially Chinese people, you stay here. Why are you traveling in a pandemic? A panini? No. Why are you traveling? Anywho, so I stand in the line. I got there at 9. I got to my till at like 11ish, so it was a very long wait in the line. So I get to the till, they take my passport, they check everything. This time there was like no hiccups except for my excess baggage where I had to take out some things from my bag, but I didn't take out that much. I took out like 2 bottles of body wash and that was about it. So yeah, everything went well at the till. I got my boarding pass, went through customs, immigration. I don't think there's customs when you're going out. Immigration, I went through immigration, got my things checked out. They took a power bank. They took a power bank because it didn't have a bag, but other than that everything was fine. Got to the boarding gate at 12:20. My flight is for 1, right? So I get to the boarding gate at 12:20 and we're waiting. I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, Jesus is Lord, I made it through. I'm finna be home, you know, I'm finna be within cuddles in 2 days. So we get there 12:20, like I said, and we're waiting, and then there's an announcement and they're like, no, unfortunately boarding time is gonna get pushed back because the plane is getting, what you call this, it's been cleaned, right? And we're like, hey, right now, cleaned Njini, because you guys knew this flight was supposed to leave at 1 and you're only starting to clean it at past the 12. Or the plane wouldn't have arrived, you know, without ample time for it to get, what's the word, I'm trying to, without it getting cleaned. So Njini, how is it getting clean now? But you know, we didn't complain. I mean, we complained a little, but it wasn't that much because it's a pandemic, it's a panini. Nobody wants to die because they didn't clean off the plane nicely. So they were like, no, the new boarding time is 2:20. Fine. We wait. And like at 2:20, true to their word, they started the boarding process and we managed to get onto the plane. Fine, got onto the plane. This is now at like 3. So mind you, Hong Kong wasn't my final destination. I had a flight leaving. If you can hear voices in the background, I'm home, I'm not alone anymore, so people be talking. But anywho, so we finished everything around 3ish. Like everyone was done boarding around 3, and now I was starting to panic a little because my flight is at 7, and I'm like, we would get there in time. Like, will there be enough time? Because I should have been in Hong Kong at around 3. Like I'd have had like a 3-hour layover, so that's what kind of, you know, kept me okay, because I'm like, I'd have had a 3-hour layover anyway, so it's fine. So we're in the plane, it's 3, and then we're told no, we need to wait for 2 passengers who got held up. I don't know what happened with them, but we waited, and then this was like past 3 now. They finally got onto the plane, and then yeah, we're like, yay, we're going. The plane starts rolling out from the, what's it called, the boarding gate. Yeah, so it starts reversing out of the boarding gate, and then the pilot goes, so there's been a technical difficulty. We didn't even go far, it was like a few meters out, and then the pilot was like, yeah, there's been a technical difficulty, we need to roll back into the boarding gate so that the engineers can come and look at the plane. And yeah, people are peeved, right? But then it's not that much, because we're like, hey, we don't want to die because we insisted on flying when the pilot told us what is the technical difficulty. So people are a little peeved, but we're fine because ain't nobody trying to die, ain't nobody trying to kill themselves because they were stubborn and did dumb shit. So it's fine. The pilot rolls into the thing and it's like, no, this should take a minimum of 15 to 30 minutes. This was already past 3, something past 3, and we wait until 4. Yeah, people are starting to get antsy, people are starting to get, you know, worried, because for like majority of that flight, most of us were just in transit. Like we had connecting flights when we got to Hong Kong, right? So 4ish, past 4, the pilot comes back and is like, okay, fine, the plane's been fixed, we're rolling out now, we're waiting for, what you call it, for, I don't know if it's a slot or time from the control tower for us to take off and go. So yeah, we waited. 15 minutes passed, nothing, we still haven't moved. 30 minutes, the pilot comes back and he's like, no, we're still waiting. So we're waiting. This is now past 4, guys. In my head I'm like, yo, this flight finna leave me. And now we start talking to the air attendants, the air hostesses, the flight attendants, and they're like, no, most of the people here are on connecting flights, and there's like a large number of them. Like the connecting flight I was supposed to get on had a large number of people who were doing the same connection. So the air attendants were like, no, we'll tell the airline in Hong Kong to wait for you guys because it's like a large number of you here and the flight can't just leave half empty like that. So I was fine, I was okay. I was like, okay, if you're saying that, then it's okay. So this is now past 4, almost 5, and then now 2 passengers are like, you know what, fuck this shit, we can't wait, they want to get off. So now we have to wait for them to get off and get their bags from the boot. I call it the boot because it's essentially what it is, from the boot of the plane. So this took about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. I'm trying to keep track of my time, the Kandalam, because I think it was 5 or 4 when this was happening, between the two, one of them. So then they finally got off and they finally got off, and then the pilot was like, okay, we're still waiting for takeoff time, we're still waiting to get clearance to take off so that we can go onto the runway. This is now at 5ish, 6ish. Mind you, this flight was originally supposed to leave at 1, got delayed to 2:20, and then from 2:20 onwards, this is what's been happening. 6, we're still waiting. 7, we're still waiting. Now people are complaining. The Chinese people in the plane were now starting to shout at the air attendants. I kind of felt bad for them because, you know, they're also in there and they don't know anything. So people are shouting at the air attendants, people are talking within themselves. There was a lady who was sitting behind me who was bawling. Like, this lady was crying like ubelila. She was crying. Sis was crying at like the top of her lungs. She was crying. I don't know why I just did crying like that, but she was crying, and like it's just chaos in the flight. So 7, 8 was still waiting, and then 8, almost 9, the pilot then comes back and is like, the flight has been cancelled. Oh well. He said the flight has been cancelled. All hell broke loose. Everyone now started jumping and complaining and shouting. The lady who was crying behind me started swearing. My girl was like, hey. I'm like, ah, sissy, you who was crying, you're not going here. Sissy was swearing. People were shouting. I'm pretty sure if those air attendants weren't careful, they could have gotten smacked. Because hey, people were tired, people were frustrated, people were shouting now, and everyone's like, okay, fine, let us get off this flight, take us off the flight now. And then the pilot was like, no, you guys can't get off the flight now, we need to wait for airline staff, we need to wait for ground staff to come. Apparently we had to wait for the police, we had to wait for quarantine personnel. And I'm like, quarantine 40 Njani, for why do you need quarantine personnel? So apparently we need to wait for these people. So this is now 8ish, 9ish, 9, 10, let me see, 9, 10, right? And then I'm trying to look for a video that I took. I'll put it up here somewhere. So 9, 10, yes, 9, 10, and then at 10:30 sometime, these 2 people in like white hazmat suits get onto the plane, and then they come to the back to where I was sitting, and they're talking to these people, and now everyone is just like, does somebody got the Rona? Like, did somebody get into the flight with the Rona? Which doesn't make sense, because for you to actually fly out, you need to have done a PCR test before, like within how many ever hours you're supposed to do it. So why is there 2 quarantine personnel getting onto the plane? Like, does somebody have the Rona? Is somebody sick? Make it make sense. Like, what's that? So they got onto the flight. They went to the back. Like I said, I'll put the video somewhere here. They went to the back and they talked to these 2 people, and then they got off the flight. So now everyone's like, hey, what's happening? Like, what's the story here? So 10:30, 10:32, 11, right? Mind you, we haven't been fed this whole time. There's no snacks, there's no water, there's nothing. For you to get water, you need to go and ask them for water at the back. Like, that flight was empty. There was nothing at all, like nothing. So yeah, 10:30, 11, and then 12 midnight, we finally get off the plane. 12 midnight, almost to 1, we finally get off the plane. So they took us in like a roundabout route. Like, we had to go downstairs, and then they put us, what's that? Varnyam. And then they put us in, like, you see the transfer buses, like Ora Tambo, when you're taking a very small flight and they put you in the buses and then take you to the plane. They put us in buses like that. So they put us in the buses, and then they took us to this boarding gate area, like downstairs. Again, Ora Tambo, if you're taking very small flights and you go to the boarding gates, like A 19 until 20 something, I think, like downstairs, they took us to an area like that. So they took us there, and it's closed off. So we got in. This is at like 1:01 sometime. So we got in, and then what happened? We got in, and then they enclosed us in like one area. So now everyone's asking, what's happening? Like, what's the story? What's going on? Mind you, we'd been sitting in the I don't know what's happening with my tongue, but mind you, we've been sitting in the flight since 9, and we only got off at 12 because we're waiting for airport personnel, airline staff to come, right? We get there, they're not there. There's just quarantine personnel, not quarantine personnel from the airport. This is like outsourced people. I only found this out later after we'd asked some of the Chinese people who could speak English, and they're like, no, these aren't airport people, they got outsourced for the work. So we'd been kept in there because we're waiting for these people to come. We get there, the people are not there, and then they gave us food. They gave us McDonald's, like it was burgers and Nyan and a Coke, like a very large Coke. So they gave us food, and yeah, so they're like, you guys are probably gonna get excuse me. So they were like, you guys are probably gonna have to get tested again because of the delay. Some people's PCR tests are gonna expire by the time they get to where they're going, so you guys are gonna have to do the test again. So we had to wait for them to come and set up this thing, which didn't make sense to me at all, because if you guys have been keeping us in the plane for that long, by the time we got out, this whole thing should have been fixed. Like, you guys should have had your stations for testing people like already set up. Everything should have been done. We wouldn't have had to come in and then wait for you guys to then set up things. So we had to wait until they finished setting up the stations, and we're told, no, we're waiting for the doctor. They didn't know where the doctor was. They didn't know when the doctor was gonna get there. And then yeah, got up at 2, almost 3, because I remember I got tested at like past 3, somewhere there. I was in the last batch. So we started testing at 2:30, finished off at like past 3, and then we had to sleep in these in the boarding gate waiting area place. So you'd go off and find your own bench and then sleep. Luckily I had my yoga mat and a blanket, because my grandmother always told me you need to travel with a blanket, but her reason is very macabre, it's very morbid, because she's like, if you die, like what are they gonna, you know, roll you in if you don't have your own blanket? So that's why I travel with a blanket. So I had my own blanket, so I managed to sleep. And then we woke up in the morning at 7. So this is the 29th, 30th. We wake up in the morning like 7ish. They gave us food, and then we're still waiting for the airline people to come. Airline staff is still not there. Even if you tried calling the Hong Kong airline, I was on a Hong Kong flight HX237. So yeah, even if you tried calling the Hong Kong airline customer service thing, they'll tell you, no, you need to talk to airport personnel that's on the ground, you need to talk to them. And then yeah, so we tried calling multiple times, but they're like, no, you need to talk to the people on the ground. So we had to wait until the airline staff on the ground came, and I think that was around 8ish, 9ish. 8ish, 9ish, yeah. So then we're asking them like, okay, so what's going to happen? Because you guys need to put us in a new flight. You need to then fix all our connecting flights, because this is your fault. We didn't miss our flights. It wasn't our fault that we missed our flights. So they're like, no, we'll try to get you guys on the same flight that you were supposed to catch yesterday. Yeah, but we're gonna have to wait for another plane to come, because there's already people that have booked for this flight that's going out to Daeger. So they're like, no, you're gonna have to wait for another flight, another plane to be sent out from Hong Kong, and then you guys will leave at that time. So everyone's, you know, placated. We're like, okay, it's fine, it's okay. And then so that was like 8ish, 9ish, 10ish, 11ish. They haven't collected our passports, because our passports needed to get restamped, because the passport said, oh, we got out on the 29th, but we didn't. So they had to collect the passports, get the passports restamped, and then give out boarding passes to people. So this is 11, and you know, you're supposed to be starting check-in for the other flight. It's 1, 11, they still haven't collected people's passports. I think they started at like 12. That's when they started doing it, and they're like, no, you guys won't be leaving at 1. You'll be waiting for a plane that's going to come at 3, which I think made sense, because the flight taker 1 already had people, like people would have booked into that flight. They couldn't have fit us into the other one, because you already had a plane full of people that didn't fly out. So yeah, they're like, no, you guys are gonna have to wait for a flight that's gonna come at 3 to collect you. So they took our passports at around 12. Yeah, they took our passports around 12, brought the passports back, and then I think we're chilling from like 12, 1. We're being fed this entire time, which is, it was good, like it was decent food. So we had lunch, we still hadn't gotten our passports back, and then 1, 2, like early 2 o'clock, some lady complained, or no, they'd gotten the passports back but they hadn't handed them out. So some lady complained. She was like, you guys can't be doing this. We're supposed to be leaving on a flight at 3. Why haven't you given people out, you know, their passports? Why haven't you given people boarding passes? I forgot another thing. In the morning, we were waiting for the PCR test to come back. We only got them at 11, 12, like before they collected the passports, they gave us the PCR test. So around the same time. So then eventually they handed out passports at like past 2, 1 past 2, I think, 1, 2ish, somewhere there. I can't remember the specific time. This was a very traumatic time for me, so I didn't keep track of time like that. But I know around 1ish, 2ish they then started giving out passports. They gave out the passports, but then what I thought they would have done was bring back the passports with people's boarding passes already like slipped into your passport after the stamping, but they didn't do it like that. They gave us back our passports separately, and then they had to now then run and get people's boarding passes because anti plane fantastic 3. So Gamabasti 2, almost 3, and that's when they started giving out boarding passes. And we're like, Kante, wasn't the flight supposed to leave F3? Fatse, Konsagalan. So then, yeah, they got boarding passes, and they then divided us into like 2 halves, because the people who got their boarding passes at 3, not all of us got boarding passes. So they only gave like half the flight, and then the other half stayed behind. So half the people got their boarding passes, got onto the plane, but then they waited for a while, which I thought was kind of weird, because I thought they were waiting because we were all going to leave at the same time, but they were just waiting at the thing because the flight eventually left at 6:30, but they'd been sitting in the plane since 4, because they finished giving out boarding passes at like 2:04, got onto the buses, they got transferred onto the flight, onto the plane, and then they were just chilling like on the tarmac for like a good hour, 2 hours. They were just there, and they also thought that we were supposed to get onto the flight because they were like, the flight is empty, so you know. But I don't know why they divided us like that. So anywho, the people whose flight was supposed to leave at 3 left at 6:30. So then the rest of us were left behind. We're then now trying to ask like, so why didn't we fly out with those people? Why did we get left behind? What's the story? What's happening? Like, what's the reason? They had no reason. That the entire thing was very disorganized from the time we got off the plane on the 29th, like late in the evening, until the time I left. It was total chaos. There was no structure, there was no coordination, there was nothing. For you to find out information, you had to go and badger the people, and they started snapping back at people, which wasn't right, because we're not the issue. You are. So why are you angry? Why are you catching feelings? You're the ones who are doing dumb shit, so why are you angry? Anywho, so now we're asking them like, yo, why haven't we flown out? What's the problem with us? Are we getting another flight? And they're like, no, we're waiting for another flight. The flight is supposed to come at 11 in the night. And we had started hearing rumors circling around that if they didn't manage to like fly us out before 12, the 31st, we were then going to be put into quarantine for 14 days. And then now I'm like, quarantine yani food, because we didn't go out, so why are we being quarantined for 14 days? But luckily the 11th flight came through, and they started giving out boarding passes. They were giving out the boarding passes in like small batches. It was like everything they did was just purposely done to frustrate them and us, because they kept like bringing like small thingies to like dish out the boarding passes. Didn't make sense at all. I didn't understand it. I didn't know why they did it like that. I didn't understand. I didn't understand. So yeah, they finished giving out the boarding passes, and nyamawami, I still hadn't gotten the boarding pass. And we were waiting there, but I wasn't by myself. I was like, how? There was like a large group of us, and we were waiting. We ended up getting handwritten boarding passes. which was also confusing because now I was asking them like, yo, are you guys giving us handwritten boarding passes because you haven't managed to fix our connecting flights, or you just didn't have, excuse me, or you just didn't have time to go get the boarding passes printed out? Because this was now at like past 11, almost 12, and I just wrote it up as them not having had enough time to then go print out the rest of the boarding passes. So yeah, allergies. I'm back home and spring is springing. So yeah, where was I? Okay, so they gave us handwritten boarding passes. We got onto the bus. They took us to the plane. We had to go back up those infernal steps, which I did not like because I had a small suitcase and a backpack, and I was carrying things in my hand. So we went up the stairs, got onto the flight, sat down nicely, and then this was at like past 12. But the flight left at 1:30. I don't know what they were waiting for. I don't know who we were waiting for. But the flight eventually left at 1:30. We flew nicely, got to Hong Kong at 4 o'clock in the morning on the 31st. Yeah, 4 o'clock in the morning on the 31st. We got to Hong Kong. We got sorted into our original transit like routes, and yeah, I had a problem because my name wasn't on the list. Air Flight Air Qatar, like the Doha connection, my name wasn't there. So then we got further divided into other groups, and they're like, you guys are gonna have to go to the airline service desk at 10 in the morning. So yeah, we go through the transit check-in thingy where, like, you know, they check your passport, you go through, they check your bag, they take things out if they need to take things out, and so on and so forth. So we managed to do that. We go through transit, and then we go down to the air service desk because they you know, pushed people to there was a thing that was signing. So we got there, they made us sign this paper, and then they put money in your passport. It was like 1,000 Hong Kong dollars. That is 800 and something RMB. I'll put the conversions on the screen, but they put in 1,000 Hong Kong dollars. So now we're asking them, this is like 4 in the morning, we're tired, we haven't slept. So when we're asking them what the money is for, they weren't really clear what the money's about, but we're tired and we didn't have energy to fight. So I took the money, me and this girl who I was with. We took the money, we went to sleep. When we're asking them, where are we sleeping? Is there any lounge that's been set up? And they're like, no, sorry, the lounges are full. And I'm like, but you guys know there's a flight full of people that are going to be coming in who want somewhere to sleep and to freshen up. How are the lounges full? Like, Johnny. So again, night of the 31st, or morning of the 31st, I slept on an airport bench. So we slept on the bench. We woke up at 9:30, past 9, almost 10, and then we woke up. We went to the food court area, and and then we got there. They gave us these very sad McDonald's breakfast burgers, but they had hot chocolate, which is nice. I think the one thing that Shanghai did nicely was the food. The food was good. Hong Kong, baby, because even when we got there, we got this very dry burger, like very dry. So in the morning when we got there, they gave us the food, and then they had more airport staff, which was a plus because there was a bunch of us. So then we got assigned to someone who was gonna help us, and then yeah, the lady came, she managed to help us, although I had to then switch. I got switched, like they switched my airline from Qatar to Emirates, which I didn't understand at first, because now I kept asking them like, yo, my original booking was with Qatar, why did I get changed? Because the girl who I had, you know, gotten grouped myself with because we're both coming to Botswana, she managed to keep her original booking because we're on the same flight, we're supposed to do the same connection. So she managed to keep her Qatar booking, but I got changed to Emirates. So then I was trying to ask them like, why did I get changed? Like, what's wrong with me? am I the problem? Like, why did I get changed? But then the lady, she tried explaining. I didn't have the patience for it. I didn't have the, I was like, you know what, it's okay, it's fine. As long as I'm getting home, it's okay. Because I kept asking, and she's like, if you still want to fly out with Qatar, you can try, but would need to put you on a waiting list. But that doesn't, you know, it's not a sure thing that you're gonna fly out with the Qatar because you're on the waiting list. So you could end up not flying out. I was like, you know what, it's okay, it's fine, it's okay. If Emirates is gonna get me home, that's fine. It's still a good airline, so it was okay. So then yeah, managed to do that. Yeah, managed to do that, got changed to Emirates, and from then on it was a smooth flight. Yeah, like after we got to Hong Kong, everything was just smooth sailing. Although now when I was checking into my Emirates thing, I got charged for excess baggage, which didn't make sense because the ladies at the airport in Shanghai made me take things out of my bag, and they were like, it's fine. And then when I got there, they're like, no, your bags are very heavy, so you need to pay for access fee. The money that they slipped into our passports, I knew I was forgetting something. The money that they slipped into our passports, and like when we were doing the signing thing after we got off the flight at 4, was the compensation money. They had a clause at the top of the paper that was hidden, like, you know, on a clipboard, like where you put the clip and the paper things. They had hidden the clause at the top of the thing, like right at the top where you clip, so you wouldn't have noticed it unless you were looking for it. But someone looked at the paper and sent a picture in the group, and the thing was apparently the 1,000 Hong Kong dollars was the compensation that the airline was going to give us. Like, that was all the compensation that the airline was going to give people. And the paper that they'd made us sign was basically a thingy where they were like, seeing as you've signed this paper and you received the money, you can't pursue the case any further. You can't take Hong Kong Airlines or whoever's going to get them after to court. Like, you can't pursue the case any further because they've given you this $1,000. And yeah, people were upset, people were mad, people were trying to take back the money. And I mean, I think I would have done it, but at that point I was tired. I was like, you know what, even if I want to pursue this thing further, I'm going back home. I'm going to Africa. Where am I going to see these things? How am I going to see any payout from the thing? I was tired, guys. I just wanted to come back home. So now I kept the money, and but then I ended up having to use it to pay for my excess baggage. I'm like, you people are evil. So I ended up having to use $1,000 yakona to pay for my excess baggage, which came up to 586. So basically half the money was gone because I had to pay for excess baggage. But yeah, but silly people of Hong Kong Airlines, they're really sealed. But yeah, there was the entire compensation that they'd say that they're gonna give people, and people were upset. So we had created a group. People were going on and on and on. But my story is all over the place, I'm sorry. But the first flight, like, remember before we left, like I left on the flight at 11 from Shanghai to Hong Kong. So the people who left on the flight at 6, they got put into lounges because we saw them the next day and they changed. And we're like, oh, what did you guys change? Who did you bath? They're like, no, we got put up in a lounge. I'm like, so what was the problem with our flight? Because we were told that it's full and there's nothing that they can do, but they got put up in lounges. So I was like, huh? The evil of Hong Kong Airlines. Anywho, yeah, after my flight got sorted, I paid for the excess baggage that they charged me, and then yeah, I checked in, I got myself some food. I tried Gordon Ramsay's thingy. There was a Gordon Ramsay restaurant that was there. I tried it out. It was really good. It was really good. I can see why Gordon is shouting at people. It was really good. I got a burger and fries. Yeah, it was really good. So I got food. My flight was set to leave at 9:30, so this was like around 6ish. I got food, I got my dinner, and then I went to the boarding gate. So now I'm sitting at the boarding gate, right? I almost forgot. I'm sitting at the boarding gate and I'm waiting, and then this lady who was helping me before, she comes and she's frantic and she's like, she's just frantic, and she has my name written on the thing, and she's like, I'm looking for Nandi Pamazibubu, I'm looking for this person. And then I raise my hand up, I'm like, I'm here. And then she comes, she's like, oh my gosh, the flight is about to leave, we need to go get you a boarding pass, because I skipped out on a part of the story. So when I got moved to the flights, the lady who was helping me went off somewhere because I was supposed to get another COVID test done, because at the time I still thought I was going to have to go through Zim, and Zim has a 48-hour PCR test requirement. And because I was already delayed, even the new one that we had done, by the time I got home it would have been way over the time, because I got moved from the Doha flight to the Emirates flight. The Doha one left at 7:20, Emirates left at 9:30, and I got to Johannesburg later, because if I had taken the first one I would have gotten to Joburg at 9 in the morning, but this one I got to Joburg at like 5 p.m. So by the time I'd have gotten there, my PCR test to go to Zim would have been null, so I needed to have gotten a new one. So that's what the other lady was like looking up. So she went off somewhere and she forgot to come get me. So then now I went and I asked for other help from someone else, and they managed to help me. They took me to the boarding part. They took me to the boarding thingy, to the check-in place, got new boarding passes, and then I checked in. So it seems like they didn't tell her that they did that, because she was like, I was following up your case, so like I didn't know. And she's like, no one told me. So she's crying now, like after she's found me, and I tell her like, no, I managed to get a boarding pass, everything's fine. She breaks down and she's crying, and now I'm just there like, what am I supposed to do? So now I'm trying to console her. I'm like, no, I'm so sorry, it's okay, I got a boarding pass, like they didn't tell you? She's like, no, they didn't tell me. And I was like, I was looking up your case, like no one said anything. I was so worried. I'm like, Sissy, your colleagues don't like you. Your colleagues really don't like you, because why would they do something like this and then not say anything? So then eventually she calmed down, and then she left, and then yeah, I boarded and I got onto my flight to Dubai. Got to Dubai, I chopped money because I then had to freshen up, because I hadn't bathed since the 29th. Early morning 29th, I hadn't bathed, and this was now the 1st of September. I hadn't bathed. So I had to chop some money at the Dubai airport. I don't know why airports are expensive. Why are they expensive the way they are? What's the reason? But yeah, I chopped money at the Dubai airport. I went to some, you know, get stuff to freshen up. So I freshened up and then connected to my flight to Joburg. Got to Johannesburg, and then I had to sleep over in Johannesburg because I needed to get another PCR test done. So then when I got to Joburg, because I got in charge with excess baggage, my uncle was like, you know what, it's okay, you can just go to Gabs directly. So then I had to sleep over in Joburg because I needed to get a new PCR test done, and I did the one that goes up the nose. Why is it in Africa we insist on doing the nose one? What's the reason? Like, what's the reason? Because the ones that we did in China was they just swab the back of your throat. So I don't understand why we still insist on going up and trying to scramble my brain. Why? So I got the new one done. Joburg was 850 rand. Why is it that expensive as well? So I got the new one done. I slept over in Johannesburg. I slept in a hotel.